Yeah, everyone. As I mentioned, Braden Ream from the Voiceflow team will also be joining, but that's not the star of the show today. The star of the show are these three designers with me. So I'm going to toss it right over as I get my screen share set up, and I'll toss it over to you, Nick, if you want to just give an intro of name and what team you're on, and then we can jump into intros in the deck as we get going.
Sure thing, sounds good. So my name is Nick Laing. I'm a conversation designer at JPMorgan Chase. So I've been working on our digital assistant chatbot for a little bit over a year now. And yeah, there's a little bit more details, but I think I can just pass it off. So Ali, do you want to do an intro?
Sure. My name's Ali. I'm tuning in from Australia, so it's nice and early for me. But I work for Australia's largest and leading retailer. So we are a supermarket, we sell insurance, we do rewards, we do gift cards, we do everything. But I guess I can talk through that more a little bit later. So I'll pass it up to Nicole as well.
Hey everyone, I'm Nicole and I'm a senior conversation designer at Intuit, and I work on their QuickBooks chatbot. So I work with small business owners to help them with their finances.
Awesome. And then Braden, you want to give a quick shout out before we get going?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Braden Ream, CEO of Voiceflow. I spend most of my time talking to customers and building products. So happy to be here today and talk a little bit about whatever you guys want to chat about, especially large language model stuff. It's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm Sam. I run most of the workshops for Voiceflow. So if you've ever been on a Voiceflow workshop, I'm leading those over there. But very excited to take the show on the road today with these three that are leading the charge in terms of using generative tasks, AI Freestyle, and our AI Assist tooling. I think today, as I've listened in for the last 9 hours, shout out to Hans and everyone who's been online all day and night, depending on where you're at. A lot of people understand that there's value here, but now we're excited today to rip through some of the thought process, but then go into a demo of how people are actually building with it. So on that note, we already did some quick intros. So let me give you the plan of attack. We're going to give some thoughts on LLMs and CXD, look at AI Assist and its use cases, and then we're going to jump in and do a live build, because we can talk about LLMs, but the best way to use LLMs is actually design with them and show how people are designing with them. So that's what we'll wrap with today, and then obviously some Q&A as we go. If you want,
I was going to jump in. I think one thing that I particularly enjoy about Voiceflow stuff is we're always going to lead with the product. And so, it's going to be super interactive today. And also for the chat there, if you're a Voiceflow designer, say hi. If you're just tuning in now, say where you're from. We'll try to make this less webinar-y and more, feel like a bit of an interactive workshop.
Absolutely. Awesome. So I know each of you kind of chatted a little bit about those top 2 bullet points, or the top bullet points. Why don't we go through with Nicole, just give an understanding of what your team size is and what you're working on before we get into thoughts on LLMs.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been in this space now going on my 5th year, and started as a conversational analyst / designer. And now I work on all the pieces of conversation design, from the content strategy piece to interaction design to training the model, integrating other pieces like APIs and such. And so it's a really exciting place to be in. We are on the QuickBooks side, which is the side that I represent. We're a pretty decent sized team that's working with 6 designers and 2 PMs to keep all of our work in line and move things forward. And I work only on digital assistant, though we do have IVA capabilities, but my focus is on the digital assistant chatbot.
Awesome. And then Nick?
Yeah, so a little bit more detail. I've been building bots since 2017. So before I was at Chase, I was at Drift, and at Drift, I made bots for a whole bunch of different customers. So I've kind of started at the startup side of things and now more in the corporate world. So I've seen a little bit of both sides in terms of how different companies design things. Currently, my team has 3 different designers and 1 UX writer. And I'm also just primarily working on the digital assistant. So you can find the CDA in your Chase mobile app if you're a Chase customer. And there's a whole bunch of different features that the CDA is able to assist customers with. So we've been using Voiceflow to aid in our design process for several months now. I feel like we're approaching a year, but it feels like a lifetime. But yeah, I can pass that off now.
Awesome. And then Allie.
Hello. So yeah, I transitioned from being a copywriter. I feel like a lot of conversation designers go this path, but I was originally a copywriter, and I started working on an account to write chatbot scripts for a bank in 2019, and it just kind of flourished from there. I'm currently working, as I said before, for Australia's largest retailer, and we've got a pretty big team of 22. So that includes 2 conversation designers, and I think like 8 developers, a few product owners, etc. And we create bots across voice, chat. We've experimented with Google Home in the past, in-app assistants as well. And to design, we use Voiceflow, and we've started using Human First for our NLU designs. So how can we make sure that the training is working smoothly? And we create things on Dialogo, ES, and CX in our everyday workflow. So Voiceflow is really for me and my co-worker Peter. Shout out to Peter. Voiceflow for us is the biggest and best thing that we use for sure.
Amazing. Yeah, even in this room, all different workflows, all different team sizes, all different channels, and I think obviously in the chat it's going to be similar. So I think that's why all this different perspective. It's not just one conversation design perspective. Everyone's using these things differently. So on that note, let's jump into some thoughts. I pulled this, a little comedically, but if you check Braden's DMs, if you checked LinkedIn in the last 4 weeks, everyone is saying, hey, LLMs are awesome, but how do they fit in our day-to-day, right? Like I think every conversation designer in the planet probably asked that in the last 4 weeks, and the 1% who didn't probably wasn't on social, didn't read one article, right? So I think the excitement's there, but the application has been something that we've gone to work saying, how can we help teams build right away? So tossing it over to Nicole first, I asked each of you how's it impacted your workflow, and then what's kind of the opportunity you see with LLMs in conversation design.
Yeah, I for me also, I love that quote because that's exactly what all the conversations I see are around this. Yeah, for me, it's about making content creation easier. As someone who does, I don't just write copy. I do so many different pieces of the conversation on any given day. I could be working on, I could be training a model. I could be talking to business stakeholders to understand their needs and collect information, right? So I'm constantly task switching, which means some days I get to the copy part and it's just like, I got nothing. Right. And so for me, it's, it overcomes that blank page feeling. It overcomes the, writer's block. So I can just kind of, put something in there and just get versions of it. I don't have to be my best. Right. It's like almost like fast forwarding your rough draft. Right. To put something in there and kind of see like, OK, I'm going to generate some copy and see what else I can get. And sometimes the software comes up with something good. Sometimes it comes up with something good that I can then make better. Right. And so that's really one of my favorite uses for this content creation tool. It's much more efficient than kind of waiting for my brain to figure it out.
I love that. Fast forward the rough draft. I'm stealing that back from you. Great. So that's the content portion. Allie, you had talked a little bit about providing that initial training for intents and some high-fidelity prototypes. What do you see there?
So we always think, the best way to get utterances is via customer data, of course. But when you're creating a prototype and you don't want to go into all your customer data and feed that back in, whatever, the easiest thing for me to do is just when I'm creating an intent, pop a few utterances in there and just press generate. So I can just get essentially, as it says there, like a high fidelity intent of utterances. And it's way easier for less complex intents where you're doing like, I don't know, or yes, or no, etc., where you don't actually have to think too much and you can just continue designing. I think, often beforehand, this created a massive roadblock for us where you're in a flow and then you've had to stop because you've had to rack your brain, as Nicole was saying before, for utterances that are just, aren't really relevant or stop your progress. So for me, that's the best way to use it.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times before this, designers might have waited until user testing in order to actually understand what intents were missing or where are the edge cases, et cetera, or where do I need to fill in for data science or NLU design. And I think that's a spot on task. It just fast forwards that entire process so you can spend more time on actually, the experience and all. And then Nick, not to steal your bullet point, but focusing on user experience to round it out here.
Yeah, so this is more on the opportunity side of things. I think as time goes on, we'll see more and more use cases in terms of allowing the designer to do more complex things and sort of automating more simple tasks. So one instance is FAQs. Like I can remember some of the bots that I was working on in the past, and a lot of times we would have people coming to the bot to ask, simple questions like, when was the company founded, or who's the CEO? So in the past, that takes time out of the designer's role to, make sure we get the right answer, write up an intent, and then train it. But now with some other features that Voiceflow is implementing, we can almost rely on things like freestyle to just get those answers. So I see a huge opportunity there as time goes on. And then the second point is really kind of building off of that. So instead of building assistants from scratch, this kind of gives you a platform to build off of. So for instance, like fallbacks is something that, again, the designer or the content team would have to curate and like find a spot in the flow and make sure that the content is good. But now you can just generate several utterances and have your prototype be functional. And then now the job becomes more of, how do we brand this content? How do we make this fit the bot that we're building, instead of, starting from scratch and saying, where does this fallback belong? So a lot of opportunities opening up with LLMs in the future for sure.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Nick. It actually, you hit on the brand word in the comments. Someone had asked about branding the utterance or branding the utterances, right? So there is also this balance, right, between creation and curation that we'll get into. And I think you're hitting on it of like, LLMs are not replacing, copy, or not replacing creating utterances or a brand persona. It's fueling, it's sparking creativity. It's eliminating eliminating the repetitive tasks, right? So to the point, Christine's comment, a lot of times what we'll see, and I think Ali will show us right off the top, is you can give a few suggestions of utterances and then generate from those, which allows you to have that human touch of the creativity, understanding of the brand, great, and then go through and accept and edit. It's not just generate 20 and now we're done, right? There's that human element of truly designing the conversation that now you can actually focus on, versus just spitting out a bunch of utterances.
I think in an ideal world. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just wanting to add to that as well. I was telling Sam before as well, just when we're talking about, rather than generating out your own utterances, you're looking into your own customer data and using that to basically spruik how you can automate your workflow. Like yesterday, I was saying to Sam, I fed like a few hundred utterances into ChatGPT and asked it to essentially create high-level overviews of all the utterances so I can develop use cases. So at the end of the day, and this is something you'll be able to use with Voiceflow soon, but at the end of the day, I think ChatGPT isn't about taking over your workflow. It's about how you can do things much quicker and easier.
Yeah, love that. Love that. Great. So then before we actually hop in and show everyone, just really hammering home this pivot, and Braden, maybe you want to just summarize this. I think these are some of your first words too. I know Brett mentioned it earlier, just the pivot from creation to curation for these conversation design teams.
Yeah, I think so. Large language models today, like there's two big opportunities for conversational AI. There's large language models to automate the creation layer, and so making it easier for one conversation designer to have 10 times the leverage, right? So a really good example of that is we have seen an explosion of usage in our response variant feature, and the reason for that is before, conversation designers just might not have the time to add even, multiple variants. I might just do one response because it's just not a high value use of their time, right? To add like 15 different variations. But now if it's the same work as adding just one or two, totally, people are going nuts, right? I'm going to add 15 because why not, right? So now you're getting, a much better user experience for the same cost. So we're giving more leverage to the conversation designer to be able to do more. And I think the goal is over time too, ideally with fine tuning, as the conversation designer makes edits. So like, let's say they generate 10 responses, and then, we see like Nicole goes in, like makes some tweaks to like a couple of them. Hopefully over time, you're fine tuning the model so that the recommendations get better and better and better, more like on brand and stuff like that. So I think that's the creation side, like trying to like 10x the speed of creation. I think on the runtime side, there are certainly opportunities for like large language models to be used like at runtime. We think fallbacks is an interesting example of this. And we also think for some FAQs on large, for knowledge bases, there's some opportunity for being able to like trust your LLM in a very contained way to be able to answer some very basic questions. But certainly for your like core happy paths and flows, like it's all going to be sort of created. So that's what we're thinking about things right now, is like it's all about curation, speeding up creation. That's where like the big impact is going to come at the enterprise level. And then I think you'll start to see some experimentation on like, fallbacks and stuff like that at runtime. That's sort of our current thesis.
Yeah, love that. Before we hop in the tool, just a really quick product overview that you're going to see today. There's two sides of AI Assist, specifically the generative tasks, which are going to help with utterances and intents, response variations, fallbacks, and no matches. You can see on the left-hand side, creating an intent, and then utterances. On the right-hand side, working with no matches. And again, we'll be showing this in tool, so I won't spend too much time here. And then AI Freestyle, Nicole will show that off. As well as everyone's work will roll up to this. But this is where fallbacks come in, right? Where now you're finding edge cases in user testing. And then even at runtime, for example, if you are enabling freestyle, with a well-tuned machine and an optimized experience, you can actually have those fallbacks ready and then find missing intents and put them back into the design later. So we'll show both of those in action now for an actual demo, because that's what everyone wants to see. So I'm just going to queue up the use case really quickly. We're going to do this for Best Buy. Not sure how global of a brand Best Buy is, but effectively it's an electronics technology product store. So really just a retail focused use case. And we'll be in like a web chat project type on the Voiceflow side. And then obviously using AI Assist to design utterances, fallbacks, and then finding missing intents.
And this was just a selected brand, a bit of a legal disclaimer. We no affiliation whatsoever, not in contact with the Best Buy team here. No. We want to be helpful neighbors, and thought we'd quickly build an assistant using their amazing brand, but not in any way affiliated.
Very good call. Great. So what I will do is give a quick overview of. Actually, Ali, I see that you're already in there. Are you, do you mind sharing from here, and then we can kind of give the overview, sure, and I can kind of cue you up?
Sure. I will just share my screen. Hopefully you guys can see that. Yeah? It says I'm sharing.
Not yet. Anyone else see Ali's screen? No? Okay.
I don't see it.
While Ali works through that, I am going to drop a link into the comments here. This is a link to a workspace for anyone here that wants to hop in on Voiceflow. It has all the AI Assistant Freestyle turned on, and it's an enterprise trial for 30 days. So if you want to build along with us, that Best Buy project is there, and you can hop in and build along with us.
You can't see my screen yet?
No, not yet.
It's weird. It says it's sharing my screen. Does someone else want to share then instead, or how do we want to roll this?
That's totally fine. Let me go ahead and see if I can do that. How about now? Can everyone see Voiceflow now? Odd. Hans, any troubleshooting you've seen today that's worked with screen sharing another tab? Oh, there we go. Can everyone see that now?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So I can do the overview, and then Ali, you can kind of talk me through your thought process, and I can just show on my screen. And then for Nick's and Nicole's, we'll try again, maybe just a bit of a delay in what we were sharing there. Sweet. So the quick overview of the canvas before I toss it to Ali. As you can see here, I'm building on this screen. We have a basic welcome flow here, as well as the way in Voiceflow that we'll organize if you're new is nesting intents underneath topics. So in this case, we've identified the shop products, check order, and find a store topics. And obviously the corresponding intents are nested underneath that. The more scale that you have in a project, the more intents can be nested underneath topics. But this is pretty we're a foundational project. And then as you see here, Braden have some fun. I think everyone here, if you can see in the top right corner, is on Canvas building together. So obviously we'll kind of waterfall each of the things that we talked about in the top. So Allie, let me turn it over to you, and then we can kind of talk through maybe how you'd apply AI Assist specifically just to making sure the welcome flow is a little bit more engaging.
So I think, as any designer would agree, variations really help essentially to create much more fluid designs. So people can basically not get stuck on the same response all the time and think that this bot is really one-dimensional. So what we would do here in the welcome flow is looking at the welcome message, hey, welcome to the Best Buy assistant. I would select the AI generate button, and I would generate then 3 to 5 variants. So I'm just waiting for it to generate. Cool. So here I've got a few variants. Hi there, welcome to the Best Buy's assistant. Hey there, welcome to the Best Buy assistant. And greetings, welcome to the Best Buy assistant. Now, I might not be completely happy with a couple of them, so I can, edit which ones I feel. But the best thing is that it gives me a canvas to not really have to think properly in terms of scratch my brain about how many variations do I need, how do I make it sound like it's like it's congruent with my tone of voice, etc. So I'm actually going to keep all 3 of these because I'm happy with them. Oop.
And Allie, when you're done, I'll hop in and show what you did. As obviously on my screen, I'll need you to finish your work in that block first.
Oh, good. So I'm going to accept them all if it lets me accept it. Oh, there we go. And also I'll create, these have already been created for me, but the second block as well. How can I help you today? What can I do for you, etc. So it just helps to basically create fluidity within your design, and really takes, at least half an hour out of my workflow doing this. So Sam, you can pop in and see what I did if you like.
Yeah, awesome. So I think everyone should see what I did on the welcome to the Best Buy, or what Allie did, excuse me. And here, Allie, you had mentioned, okay, I accepted all of them, which people didn't see live. You just went through and then clicked enter, done, done, done. But for example, like on my screen here, if you said, okay, great, well, we would never use greetings when we're talking about brand persona. Well, then it's as simple as just removing that, right? And that allows you to play a little bit more immersively with the brand, and it's not just wrote, oh, generate 10, now they're there, right? And then how can I help you? You had mentioned that as well. I think while you were building the first, I also generated the second in real, alongside you. So here, just different ways you can say, how can I help you today? That then here I've accepted, but let's say, great, we're going to remove those 2 because they didn't fit the brand. And you'd said you're estimating about a half hour. Is that like when you go to build, or at what point are you sitting down to generate those utterances as part of your workflow?
To generate variations, probably after I've done the happy path and I'm, filling in the blanks, having to go back in and then having to create variations over each response, as well as the same with no matches, create variations with no matches or etc. So I think it just makes, when I'm done with the project, I like to just, try to spend as little as possible filling in the blanks. So this just allows for the handoff to be much quicker and easier.
Wonderful. And then before you build it out for an intent, it looks like Hans is back, and he just needed to enable screen sharing for you. So what I'll do is I'll unscreen share, and if you don't mind,
sure.
Screen sharing, because I'd love for people to see you do it live.
Sure, no worries. Okay. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So which task did you want me to do? Sorry, Sam.
So now I think we can hop, now that we saw like variations, let's think about utterances and when you'd go to create an intent. I think for the check order one, I have an intent built out, but it only has one utterance tied to it.
Yeah. Cool. So something I touched on before as well is essentially when I'm creating a high fidelity prototype and I haven't really dug into customer data as such to dump it all into these intents just yet. All I need is just, maybe 10, 20 utterances max, so I can just continue on with the workflow and worry about filling in the blanks later, as I said before. So what AI Assist has been really helpful with is if I've created an intent, like check order over here, I can see there's Sam's already chucked one utterance in there, but I'm going to chuck another one in. Can I get an update on my order status? Right? And then I just press AI generate. So I'm going to generate 20 utterances in which I can just get 20 utterances on demand. So that really helps with the high fidelity design and just takes the think work and, oh, I can't generate anything. Oops. Just really takes the think work out of having to do prototyping. So, and then we can get stuck into the NLU design. So actually how this works with proper entities, etc., a little bit later. But just to kick me off, I think it's perfect. So we've got utterances here. Is my order ready yet? When will my order be ready? How far along is my order? What is the progress of my order? Where is my order, etc. So I'm actually going to accept all of these because I'm happy with all of them. And there I have it. I've got essentially all of my utterances ready to go for my high fidelity prototype. And if I want more, or if I think, you know, I need something to be a little bit more localized with more Australian isms rather than just American, then also that helps as well, because I can just chuck something in, variate, and then there we go.
Yeah, that's a great flyby. And I think, you know, as simple and as quickly as you were able to do that, I think what you're saying is like, again, is what we're seeing from designers is like, this is automating a massive chunk of upfront work that, you know, 3 weeks ago, you were still doing manually. You can talk about like spinning up a prototype quickly, like in your very early iterations, do you see this valuable so that you can actually share a prototype that isn't just wrote intents and wrote buttons to like prove out multiple ideas?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just, as I was saying before, I think, you know, always customer data is the first point when it comes to creating intent. But when you're just spinning something up for stakeholders and you just need it to work and you want more than a couple of utterances and you don't have to sit down and just think, okay, how many different ways can I get an update for my order? This just creates such a quick way to hand off to stakeholders to say, hey, we've created this. What do you think? So I really think this is just a game changer for us. And yeah, I think also plugging this into other platforms, essentially, so you can cluster data and help with this, basically just jumps everything off. So
amazing.
Yeah, for us, it's great.
Wonderful. Great. I think those are the first two we wanted to hit on responses and intents and utterances. Thank you, Ali, for whipping through that. Nick, I think you are going to walk us through no matches and fallbacks on like the local level. If you wanted to get your screen shared, hopefully Hans can click your go button on the back end as well.
Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen here.
Yep.
All right, cool. I'm just gonna do this real quick. But yeah, I'm gonna showcase a couple of instances of using the AI assist for the no match and no reply conditions. So this is a similar idea where it's just about getting ideas out, getting them quickly, and saving designers a lot of time. So for instance, in this flow, we have the welcome to Best Buy. How can I help you today? And then we present the user with a couple of options. So these are buttons. One could be to check an order. One could see to speed a shop for products. So let's say that in this instance, I want to include a no match condition. Maybe somebody types something that's neither of these, or just something we don't recognize. Normally, as a designer, we have to take time to create a path and then think about the content that we want to stem from this no match condition, and then also generate our own variations on that no match condition, just to make the bot seem a little bit more varied and lively. But yeah, with the AI assist, this whole process can get automated. So if I go here and select no match, there's a couple ways I can do this. So one way is to generate from scratch here. So when I do generate 5 responses, it's just going to take the general no match condition and give me 5 different ways I can say that. So here you can see it came up with 5 different ways to say, I'm having some trouble understanding your message. Can you try rephrasing it in a different way? So that sounds good to me. Can you please clarify your question and provide more information? So all of these look good. They're just ways of reprompting the user to give us more information. So if I wanted to accept all of these here, good. I can back out, and now we have our no match conditions set. So this is one way you can do it, but I also wanted to showcase another method. So if I hop into this flow here, the shop products flow, and I want to do the same thing on this turn. So maybe, again, we show people different products and someone types in something that the bot doesn't recognize. So we want that to hit the no match. So instead of just letting the AI generate no match conditions from scratch, I can also provide in a primary no match condition, an utterance that I've curated, and then I can let the AI generate additional utterances off of that. So if I'd say, not seeing any products that look interesting to you, and then I can just let the AI generate based off of what this intent here says. So if I just hit the generate button, it'll take a second, and then, yeah, have you found anything that interests you? So it's just taking what I typed in now and generating some varied responses based off of that. So this is just another way to have time saving for designers. I think the half-hour kind of timing is pretty spot on, because it really could take you time to come up with different ways of saying the same thing. And I don't know, it's like the writer's block. You can really spend some time thinking about the simplest things sometimes as a designer. So for the AI just to generate these things on the spot, it is like a huge factor in terms of workflow. And then one other thing I wanted to mention here as well is that in addition to generating new variations, say you don't like something here, you don't actually have to delete the whole thing too. You can take this idea and build off of it. So instead of saying you haven't found anything that interests you, you could say anything like, I want to use the word products here. And just like that, you can now put it in your own brand voice and not have to generate the whole utterance from scratch. So I just wanted to showcase that example as well.
Yeah, it's a great call out back to even that first question. Again, there, Nick, you're being a conversation designer, not a conversational utterance or no match creator, right? Like that's not your job. Your job is to design conversations with the user in mind. So do that, right? And I think this is that fast forward 30 minutes to get to that point and do it a lot at a higher scale. So one call that I did want to make is, there's a feature which if you are in Voiceflow, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, of setting a global no match, right? And that's going to be general, where what Nick just did is website. Awesome, Nick. Anything else that you want to show on this? I think that hits all the no match things though.
Yeah, that's the main thing I wanted to hit.
Sweet. Well, thank you for that. Great. So then while we transition over to Nicole, what I'm going to do is drop a link into the chat that is for this prototype. So if you're familiar with Voiceflow, or if you're not, the shareable prototypes just directly from Canvas allow a stakeholder, as Ali mentioned, to quickly run through the experience. So what we'd love for people to do in the chat right now is this is like a prototype, not the canvas, is to run through the experience, maybe click check order. What else we have? Check order, shop products. Actually, now that I think about it, what I'm going to do is republish that really quickly and train so that it's accurate, because we built out the intent here. Yeah, so Ali worked on check order. So let me attach an intent to the shop products here.
I was going to say, yeah, for everyone, Voiceflow has a built-in NLU just for prototyping. So Voiceflow is used like on top of like major NLU platforms like a Dialogflow or like a Lex or, kind of whatever you guys are using. Voiceflow like sits on top and we export in. But for prototypes, we do have a really rapid NLU just to make things a little bit easier to have high fidelity design. So I think Sam has to train the NLU really quick. And then Sam, if you actually want to share your screen, we can show off some of the transcripts coming in, and then you can also show where training is too.
And actually, that's what Nicole's going to hit on with the freestyle part. She's going to jump into transcripts. So 2 seconds while I just attach this.
Yeah, I have a issue. I'm being blocked with sharing my screen in Google Chrome. So
oh no.
Yeah. So that's there. So I'm just going to go ahead and narrate for you.
That works.
I think it's still going to work just fine.
Yep, absolutely. Let me hop that back open.
And for everyone on the chat too, we will share not only the prototype like what we just did, but we'll actually share the design as well after. So if you want to basically take this exact design we just built together.
Awesome. And then right now I'm just attaching the tent. I got to get rid of that. Interesting, that's not popping up for some reason. Well, I'll go ahead and train this as is here. And then once this is trained, if everyone just wants to run through that check order flow as the more built out option right now, you can use my email to access the API call we built in. I can drop that email if you want to see it play out for like a specific user flow. I'll drop that email into the chat as well. When it asks for email, you can drop my email. It'll make an API call and actually play through. So this is trained now. So if anyone wants to use the link that I originally dropped, that prototype link, and just run through the chat, we'll then jump into transcripts.
Sam, do you want to drop a new link for folks?
Yeah, I can do that.
Sweet. And then what's pretty cool too is when people actually try this out, one of the best parts about Voiceflow's prototyping is you'll then have for conversation designers on the call who are doing user testing sessions a lot, if you try out that prototype, I guess I'm still in Nicole's thunder here.
Well, my thunder's a little bit off because I cannot actually share it. But I will say, Sam, why don't you share them where, click on the button where it says on so they know where this feature lives. Right. So just so you know, you can turn it on, you can turn them off here. Freestyle is like your fallback on steroids. Like it's a supercharged fallback. Like it's just your machine doing fallback for you in user testing. So, and you can turn it on and off for testing.
Yep, right there.
We'd like it on.
We'd like it on. And then generative tasks, obviously what we used earlier. So if teams don't want it on, great, but you just toggle it right there.
And I think this is definitely one of the more, the generative tasks, super exciting too. It's going to help us save time. The freestyle part is where it starts getting really interesting because then you're really actually just playing with an LLM, right? And that's one of the best ways to learn about this technology, right? You were building with before, now you're playing with it because what you're going to see, and we see like we've got people going through here, right? Already trying this out. Hopefully what we're looking for is, that little AI. So what's happened here is you look in the transcripts, you can see the little no match under I need customer support. And then you see AI. That's not your fallback. That is the LLM coming in and handling the conversation for you. And what I like about this is one, you can see what an LLM can do, right? What does it mean for a machine to take over and answer a question? But even more so, it gives you different ideas of like, how can I phrase a fallback, right? If maybe you're still stuck on ideas or you're looking at how to handle something, gracefully in a conversation, you get ideas from here. But even better, what I like is the feature to the right, which is add utterance to intent. So let's say you need a customer support utterance. You have the option here of just creating a new intent, adding it just right from the transcript. And then once again, we can go with generating new utterances. So you can see how quick this whole process works for your user testing. So maybe you don't want to worry about fallback right now. You just want to let it fly. You're like, I've got a conversation. I don't know where my gaps are in my conversation. Let's just give it to, my users to gather that initial feedback, right? And just set the freestyle to see what happens because the freestyle can handle the conversation, right? It's doing that heavy lifting for you. And then you can really go into the transcripts and start to learn, okay, what did the user say? Is this relevant? Is this not relevant? how are we responding? How's the software responding to it? Should we borrow from that? Should we co-create together, and so on? So I think, we've talked a lot about, efficiency and making this faster, but I also think it takes off some of that pressure to have your whole conversation figured out right away, right? Totally. Before you go to testing. And depending on who your testers are, right, they might just be your team. It might be stakeholders, right? So it's kind of low stakes, right? Might not be putting this in front of a customer right now. So these low stakes where you're really just looking on quick iteration, quick ideas, and getting feedback. I think that's one of the neatest things about having this freestyle option in Voiceflow.
What's really cool here, just to build on Nicole's point, is I think a lot of folks have been thinking that LLMs are going to be the core, when really it's LLMs are, today the fallback, right? What you just saw there is where we didn't have an intent for, I need customer support. So now the conversation designer is able to go in, understand where do we have gaps in our intent coverage, and now go ahead and add that intent, build out that flow. And so over time, the goal is to see less and less of those AI responses in there, right? Because those are the things that you couldn't handle, and the LLM is going to do its best to try and handle the conversation. Also, oh yeah, go ahead. No.
I was just going to say, we've seen so much with Chat GPT. It's like Chat GPT, it's the whole chatbot, right? But as designers, we're like, well, we're not just going to throw away our bots and be Chat GPT, right? We can't do that, right? We can't trust the outputs. We need control in these conversations. And so it's really interesting this is a really good example of seeing how we start to use it as a tool, right? The actual technology, how do we use it in tool in our existing conversations and tooling? And that's exactly what you're seeing right here.
Totally. It's also fun, by the way. You can see, so Voiceflow's user testing transcripts feature. You can see, folks who are test users. You can actually see some folks logged in with their Voiceflow accounts, and they've got some named transcripts there. And then what Sam can do is once our conversation designer has reviewed, let's say Peter Johnson's account transcript there, we can go ahead. Peter Johnson, if you're in the chat, thank you for giving this a test. Sam can go in and he can add a tag so that we can filter our transcripts later on. He can mark this as reviewed. He can tag a teammate. And so really, the goal is to have a single source of truth for sort of all your user testing sessions. You can run a couple hundred sessions at once, figure out where your bot's falling down and make it better before you push it to production.
And here, just tagging Nicole so that she can come in and look at that later, or as Ali mentioned, working to spin up more on the NLU designer, tied to the canvas. I also just wanted to call out, I think it was someone did it here. This is a really good one here, where someone asked, "Do you have any deals?" And then, as Nicole mentioned, this is AI. Sure, we have some great deals right now. What kind of items are you looking for, right? And it helps you get all the way back to shop products, right? So again, it's not perfect, but this is where you can have those early iterations to help drive towards that be all end all of a good conversational outcome. Nicole, I think you said it really well. This is iterative parts of the workflow versus let's just rip and replace. Well, no, you need that design element, and this just makes you a better designer on the whole.
Totally.
Awesome.
I'm surprised this works so well. We have so many user testing transcripts. The demo, live demos never work, but there we go. Great.
It's true.
I think you make it really easy to go in and just play, right? To really play with the features. And I hope that's kind of what people's takeaway is that you can go into this now and just start playing with it, seeing what it does, and thinking about how to integrate it into your own workflows.
Totally.
Peter, the transcripts we called out from Peter Johnson, he joked in the chat, he had to break it, but that's it, right? Encourage your other designers, encourage your early stakeholders to break it, see what you're missing, versus I think my least favorite thing when I've done any workshop is designing something, having someone test it, and it says conversational path ended, right? Where it's because you didn't think about every edge use case in your early prototype, so no one gets it. So I think this is another reason of letting people break it, because it'll just make your assistant better. But sorry, Braden, I cut you off there.
No, I was going to say, look, and for all the, aspiring conversation designers in the chat too, it's, Voiceflow is not some locked away platform behind sales. You can sign up in 2 minutes and start playing with this. And, we'll make this canvas available for you. So play around with the product, break it, tell us where you broke it. And, we'll try to keep making it better for you, but we're trying to really make conversation design as accessible as possible here.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop that link one more time into the stage chat, and that should give you access to the full workspace for 30 days. And you can jump in and have any, you can jump in and build right from this same foundational project and go from there.
And people jump into the current canvas. Like, could we have like a little exit?
Yeah,
part?
we can. You're talking about breaking it. Yeah, let's have everyone jump in and see what happens, right? Let me go ahead.
I feel like breaking bots is like fundamental conversation design. That's how I got my job, was breaking bots. So yeah, have at it.
Yeah.
Drop in the link to the canvas we just built on. So if anyone else wants to jump into this specific one, not the copy of this one, go ahead and have some fun dragging and dropping and breaking. While we do that, go ahead, Brady.
I was gonna say, it'd be kind of fun here for all the people on the on the canvas. I'm gonna quickly download a little tic-tac-toe template, and we can have some fun here. It's kind of fun having all the conversation designers on the canvas at the same time.
I think, Nicole, you just signed yourself up for a new series. People like the idea of breaking bots, and they said they watched that. So now it looks like you're the.
Seriously, that's how I got my job. I would just go break bots and write about it. And then when I saw a conversation design opportunity, I was like, oh, hey, by the way, I've been writing about all these bots that are your competitors. Here's how it could be better. And they were like, excellent. So it's a strategy for getting a job for those job seekers out there.
I love that. That's
a good one. We've got a full-time QA resource. His job is literally to break bots all day. So when I get a message from him on Slack, I know something's gone wrong, and I'm like a little bit of panic. Oh no, what have I done? But then I realize it's a good thing because breaking bots is great. And also now with the new AI assist feature, breaking bots is even better. So
you can break bots faster in 30 minutes quicker.
Yeah.
And with the LLMs, like I want to break it, right? Like I want to see where the edges are at, right? And where does it mess up and why is it messing up, right? It's new technology. Like that's one of the best ways to learn.
Sam, open up the canvas that you shared. It's kind of fun, by the way. You'll see the link you shared in the chat.
Oh, the other canvas?
Yeah. It's kind of fun. You've got a few people playing tic-tac-toe now on a canvas.
Oh, and this other one you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, got it. There we go. So this was the general workspace. Awesome. So
Can we get AI assist for a way to win with AI assist, or is that a feature yet?
Very cool.
Awesome. Yeah, Assist is gonna build a chessboard. Start playing Go.
Yeah, Magnus, right? Number one in the world. Well, we can just LLM his approach and play.
Well, I think that's anything else we want to chat about, Sam? I think we're coming to an end here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I know, Braden, you've been answering questions in the chat as we go. A few here just to wrap it. Yeah, Braden, maybe you want to chat really quickly as some people are seeing, are excited about this, but talking about like importing flows and talking about some of that how teams are using connected workflow. That was one of the questions, the last question here, if we wanted to wrap on that.
Totally. Sorry, someone's gonna have to take my move in tic-tac-toe there. In terms of importing flows into Voiceflow,
yeah, effectively importing flows, but more about connecting workflows with Dialogflow, Watson, Raza, etc.
Yes. So Voiceflow is meant to be platform agnostic, and so you can Voiceflow. We've actually, you know what, Sam? If you go into the top right, we can just show this off. We try to lead with product as much as we can, and not instead of telling you, we'll just show you. So if you go to share and then you go to exports there, you'll see like in your NLU, you've got all your big NLU platforms there. And so you can also build custom exports as well. And so the goal is for Voiceflow, we're trying to spend over time building like the Figma of conversational interfaces, right? Sort of the best collaborative design prototyping platform. And then you can export into any major NLU platform, including custom ones as well. And you could also do custom JSON exports, all that kind of stuff. So to answer your question there, you can totally export. And then in terms of, okay, great. Yeah, I think I answered the question.
Yeah, awesome. Well then, good. We can wrap it up. Hans, toss it back over to you. I think you're wrapping it on the whole, so we can toss it back to you. And
This was the end of a very long day, and I think what's really cool about this session is that to have people like everybody on this panel was speaking really fast because they were so happy to show off all these cool features. And I think I've never seen a team that's just so sincerely excited about the products and doing the live demo, leading with the product and everything. It's very impressive. So thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're getting applause. People are loving. You're also one of the few companies where people say we love Voiceflow. Most companies are like, yeah, we kind of like him. We kind of know. It's like Voiceflow gets love, sincere love from the conversational AI community. So yeah, that's so sweet. Yeah, no, so thank you. It's really impressive to see it all in action and to know that it works, right? That's the cool thing. It's like you switch it on and off whenever you want. And kind of as you were talking, it also reminded me a little bit of when chatbots first became a thing. It was like, oh, but now we don't need customer support people anymore. They're going to lose their jobs. It's like, no, it's going to make their jobs more interesting. And now it's the next step in that. Oh, we don't need conversations. I know we're going to make conversation design jobs more interesting by taking out some of the more boring tasks or actually having to facilitate stuff that they don't have time for yet. So it's a very nice gradual transition into that new phase where we're going to have real AI at one point.
Totally. I think, Hans, the best way we can probably end it is like large language models are going to make it easier to create assistants, which will then make more assistants in the same way that like when airlines became cheaper, it's not that airlines went out of business, it's they flew more places. And so as assistants go everywhere, there's going to need to be conversation designers all over the place to manage these things. And so it's going to be a really cool ride.
Yeah, I think so too. Like conversation design is the spot to be right now. Everybody that's here today is like, we were there at the beginning of this revolution where we saw conversational AI everywhere. Every enterprise is now thinking about conversational AI, about conversation design, trying to create a strategy for it. And it went from like a novelty, cool chatbot thing, or maybe a customer service thing. It's like, no, it's everywhere now. And OpenAI has opened up this space for us. And I think Voiceflow is in a great position to be part of that. So thank you so much, everybody. Did we get any last questions? What is there? A Pat? We want to see a Pat. Who wants to see a Pat? I don't get that. Did I miss something? No.
That was probably my dog. He entered through the
Oh,
door,
really?
the door in his head.
Oh, I missed that. All right. Thank you. And I will do some closing remarks. And everybody, they have a website. You go to a website, you sign up, get an account. Yeah, and then you tell your manager, you get a bunch more accounts and become part of the Voiceflow family.